Marco Rubio just made massive headlines. He stood in Dominican Republic and declared that this country might be the next big player in the biggest industry over the next 50 years, rare earth elements. Oh, how big a deal is this? We're talking $11 billion per year for the next, get this, 6,600 years, which is the estimated amount that the reserves could produce. That's a lot. And right now, that's nearly 9% of GDP here in DR. Look, make no mistake, this is a massive moment for the Dominican Republic. There's never been a more real opportunity in the history of the country to create jobs, to build a middle class, and shove the country forward into the developed world. But here's the thing, it can easily all be squandered. Today we're gonna look at case studies of countries that were exactly where the DR was right now. And I'll show you the ones that thrived and the ones that didn't. Let me put it this way. We wanna go the direction of Vietnam and Taiwan, not the Philippines. This one's gonna be good, but I need one thing from you. 57% of you watching right now aren't subscribed. It's so simple. You just hit the subscribe button and boom, you're part of this whole Gruber Nation community. I appreciate it if you do, trying to hit 100,000 by the end of the year, but let's dive in. All right, so rare earths, what is that? Well, essentially there are 17 elements critical for everything from smartphones to fighter jets. But honestly, they're really not actually rare. They're kind of everywhere. If you look at a map around the world, rare earths, they're plentiful. But what makes them rare is that they're hard to extract. And here's the key. They're even harder to refine. So remember that. There's two elements to this. There's mining and extracting the rare earths, and then there's refinement of the rare earths. And you know who dominates mining and, more importantly, refining? You guessed it, China. They are the kings of refining rare earths. Even the ones that are mined in the US, there's a mine, I think, in California. Those are sent to China to be refined. So you see the dependence on China and why the United States has such an interest in making sure there's a level playing field and then nearshoring or reshoring all of this stuff to the Western Hemisphere and or the United States. This is why the US needs allies in this space. So enter the beautiful Dominican Republic. By the way, no, I don't surf. I'm too short and unathletic. But I love this beach. This is Playa Blanca, if you're wondering. Right inside of Punta Cana where I live. Such a beautiful place. I love filming here. I digress. The Dominican Republic is sitting on an estimated 100 million tons of rare earth elements. They've created a state-run company called Emidom. Emidom. Somebody correct my Spanish. To oversee all of the development. In the US and even Canada, you maple leaf syrup-loving people, you are already pledging support. And right now we're talking about mining. But boy, if DR decides to build refining capacity, if you go beyond the extraction to value-add processing, you don't just supply the market, you transform this economy. Keep that in mind as we go through this. So look, Vietnam faced a similar moment to DR. I think they are one of the exemplars of what to do. Let's be clear, they started from almost nothing. They're post-war, they're poor, they're politically closed, we'll say. But they aligned with the West, they opened their markets, they built technical education in country, they focused on manufacturing, and now they're a global export power. Taiwan did the same. They built up a huge semiconductor industry with the United States. In fact, they're processing 95% of the highest-end semiconductors for the entire world. And of course, as a result, became a strategic global player. And they did it with way fewer natural resources than the Dominican Republic has. Now, the Philippines, they had the same exact chance. They faced the same moment. English-speaking population, US ally, tons of remittances. If you're not familiar, remittances is money sent from people living abroad. So in the Dominican Republic, a large percentage of GDP is Dominican Americans sending money down to the Dominican Republic. Philippines has the same thing. People that live in other countries send money into the Philippines, so it's a big part of their economy. This is why they are comparable in this moment to the Dominican Republic. But here's what they did. They leaned on outsourcing and call centers. They underinvested on infrastructure, manufacturing, and education. So you see what Taiwan, you see what Vietnam did. They invested in those things. Philippines didn't. They went the outsourcing route, so they just became another low-cost labor country. So the Philippines had their opportunity, but they didn't take their shot. I want to go back to Vietnam, because Vietnam is not DR. But here's why I think it's important to compare to them. Vietnam did all of this despite being communist. They also started from a lower economic base and faced global isolation for decades. The Dominican Republic, on the other hand, is a democracy. It's capitalist. There's free trade, stable government, tourism, way ahead of where Vietnam was when they faced this same moment. In the time since Vietnam has embraced being a manufacturing hub and a global exporter, their GDP has exploded. They're actually building a robust middle class by standards of that country. They're pulling people out of poverty, and they've moved into the category of what the IMF considers lower middle income country. The Dominican Republic is considered an upper middle income country already. There's poverty, there's prosperity, there's a lot in the middle, but you see my point. There's a ton of potential if the Dominican Republic does this right. Look, I know the environmental impact is going to be on the minds of some, and I completely get it. We know what's happening with Barrick Gold, we know what's happening in the middle of the country, but this isn't not going to happen. So the key to this video is just saying, look, let's embrace the fact that this is coming, but how does it get done the right way so that people here, not just in the United States or in other countries, people here actually prosper and gain from it. In fact, what I would do, because I'm going to give you some keys to this, what I would do is if you know people in this country, in positions of authority or in positions of government that speak English as well, send them this video because it's literally the blueprint to what can be if we follow the right path here in DR for not only the economy, not only the elites, but for the building of a bigger middle class and for prosperity in the country overall. So here's 3 things that the Dominican Republic absolutely must do. 1, train the workforce. This means partnering with US universities, building trade schools, and getting the young people here trained for mining, logistics, tech, so on. Not just grunt level labor. 2 is build the infrastructure. So finish the roads, build out the ports, fast track industrial zones like we have here in Punta Cana or up in Santiago. And there's a big opportunity here for Pedernales. Huge because of a lot of concentration of rare earths there. And 3, fight corruption publicly. The obvious cases need to be prosecuted. I don't care about political alignment with whoever the person is and the current administration. It has to be known publicly that this industry won't be just another political piggy bank. And the good news is some of this is already happening. The semiconductor industry has been talked about coming here for some time, and this is a violent shove in that direction. So the government has already created partnerships with the University of Cincinnati to up-level and train workers here on the higher end to get ready for this. That's exactly what Vietnam did. That's exactly what the Philippines didn't do. World Emblem, the largest logo company in the world, is moving manufacturing from China to Santiago into a free trade zone. The Zona Franca that's being built here in Punta Cana is getting up and running. There's already work being done with other governments. You're starting to see where roads are being built. Electricity is improving in many parts of the country. So it's not a pipe dream, it's a path that we're on. I mean, hell, in the 15 years that I've been coming here, what I've seen is more the progress that Vietnam has shown, investment in infrastructure, trains, roads, metro stations and rail in both Santiago and in Santo Domingo, the Ambar Highway being built from Santiago up to the north coast, airports. There's a ton, not perfect, but I don't see regression or stagnation in this country. I see a ton of progress. But that last one, the corruption piece, that's gonna be a biggie. There's going to be an influx of capital. There's already a business set up to mine these rare earths and sell them to the United States. There will be a ton of money coming into the country. Look, no matter where you are, even in the US, that money funnels its way to politicians. I mean, there's a reason Nancy Pelosi is worth what she's worth, why every president, when they leave office, explodes their net worth. Let's not pretend that DR is unique in the corruption game, but there has been progress. In fact, in the corruption index, DR has improved year over year. But still, this is the one thing that's gonna hold the country back from pushing itself forward into the new world. I mean, imagine a place where there's jobs that pay enough so that people don't need to go elsewhere. They don't need to go to the United States or Europe. I'm not saying $100,000, $200,000 jobs here, but we're talking about $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 jobs in the tech sector, highly skilled, that allow for people to actually prosper here. That's what this moment is. I want to be clear. There's going to be comments below with haters and doubters saying you don't understand this, that, and the other. And look, and I completely agree and will absolutely concede. Like, I've only lived here a few years. I've only been exposed to the Dominican for the last decade and a half or so. But I can do my research, and I talk to a lot of people that have been here for a long time. This is different, but only if we as a community and this country chooses to make it different. And I'll be honest, I have confidence that there will be more upside than downside as a result of this rare earth material partnership with the United States. In other words, this is a rare moment. There's rare earth discovery. It's a rare geopolitical opening and a rare chance to move people into the middle class here. And I like my steak rare. No, I don't actually. I like it medium, but I just felt like rare was the moment. I probably overdid it there. My apologies. The only question left is, do we act like Vietnam, do we act like Taiwan, or do we act like the Philippines? Here's my bet. My bet is we're gonna see more growth in infrastructure. We're gonna do it right more than we're gonna do it wrong here in this country. Hell, the IMF has been saying that by 2050, this country should be hitting developed status anyway. That was before all of this happened. Or maybe an organization like IMF has enough foresight and knowledge to say, when those rare earths get tapped and semiconductor production comes to the Dominican Republic, that's gonna be the moment for DR. So maybe 2050 is still the timeline. But either way, if the momentum is already there, if partnerships with universities are being formed, if infrastructure through Zona Francas is being completed already, if companies are moving here, manufacturing hubs, if rare earths are being mined, if partnerships are being formed, if entities are being created to partner with the United States government, it all reeks of progress in the right direction. Now look, to me, this makes a lot of what I talk about even more important. And I talk a lot about investing here. I own some real estate here. I'm looking to buy more always, and I'm always looking for the right type of deal. If you're in the same space and you're thinking, man, I want to own a piece of that place, down below I have links to realtors, attorneys, and developers that you can get connected to that I trust and work with. If it's helpful for you, fill out the link and they'll be in touch with you. Be mindful that if you do decide to work with any of them, they will compensate me in some way. No obligation for you. Do your own due diligence. But if it's of help, I'm glad to be that for you. Also, grab the newsletter. I put out a lot of content like this on a weekly basis that's a little bit more digestible and readable with even more bonus information. So grab that while you're down there. What do you think? Is this gonna be the moment? It's gonna go up, or is it gonna go the other way? Are we Vietnam, Taiwan, or are we the Philippines? You tell me, drop it down below. I'll see you on the next video.